Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today I get to work on a classic. It's a silver reel from Penn. It's the Penn 104, and this reel was made in Japan. And well, Neil sent this one in. It's got a broken bail. It doesn't trip back. So normally what that means is that the bail spring is broken. So we're going to take this reel apart. We'll show you how to replace the bail spring if that is the cause. If it isn't the cause, well, we'll figure out what the cause is. And then, well, we'll give it a tune-up later, but the purpose of this one is to show you how to reset the bail. I like to work on the bail by removing the rotor, and in order to do that, we'll take off some of the exterior pieces. While I do that, I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel. If you like the art of reel repair, if you like to learn some of the tricks that go along with keeping reels fishing for a long time to come, well, then I would encourage you to subscribe to my channel. If you do subscribe to my channel, please use that notification button. It'll let you know what I'm posting, when I'm posting, and well, most of the time they're full-blown service repair video kind of things, but every now and then I'll work on just a specific one that has broader application, and that's what we're going to do on this one. So this reel is a mid-70s or 80s reel made in Japan. It was an economy model, if you will. It's a nice reel overall, but it was an introductory model versus the Penn spin fishers of the time. This is about a 40 or a 50 size reel, probably a 50 size reel by today's standards, and it usually employs, those reels from that era usually employed one of two technologies for the bail release. It either had a bail release spring that was kind of a V-shaped spring, or it had a straight spring, kind of like what you would find in a ballpoint pen, for those of you that have taken ballpoint pens apart. And those springs usually fit into a little collar with an arm that tripped it. And if you figure out the one, it applied to many of the reels. So even if you're not working on a Penn reel, maybe you're working on an old Ryobi or a Daiwa or something like that, if you know how the spring works in one, you generally can work on all of them. Well, I'm going to take the rotor off now. So we took off the spool by removing the adjuster knob. We should be able to remove this little click ratchet. It should just come up. Well, what we'll do, I'm not going to force that. We'll come over here and we will remove the side plate and take it off that way. And you'll get a peek into the reel, and you'll also, well, see how I'm going to tune it up later. But again, right now, the whole purpose of this video is to show you the bail spring replacement and show you a little bit about common and usual kind of setups on them so that you can work on them. Don't fear the bail spring. A lot of folks will send you the reel that they would normally repair by themselves because it's got a broken bail. Well, most of the time the issue is finding the part. This is not the right spring screw for this. Looks like it's just laying in there. It doesn't even have enough grip to get down there, and that's because the screw on this side is broken. Well, we can run the reel with that. I don't have the tools or equipment to get that stud out. I may try a little bit later, seeing if I just can't grab it with a micro pliers and walk it back out. Now that doesn't seem to be the case. So that one's kind of stuck as it is, and that's something they're going to have to live with. To get to that axle shaft, we want to pull the pin here. That's holding the crossline arm on. Remove the arm. That'll give us access to the screw that's holding the axle shaft. And a lot of times that little click ratchet up top there will just come right off. This one's pressed on. You could eventually work it off, but when it's just as easy to do it this way, you might as well leave it on the axle shaft and work it off. Well, Neil is going to be lucky if it is a broken spring, because I happen to have ordered a bunch of those a long time ago. You'll see when I go to grab the replacement, but there we go. Once you pull that spring out, or pull that screw out of the crossline block, you pull up and out on the axle shaft to remove that. This one's got some dirt on. Probably should put some gloves on here. I didn't, because I wasn't figuring on rebuilding the whole reel at this point, but I will. All right, the drive comes out, and you'll notice that this is a bushing reel. It's got a bushing on both sides. This reel could be hot rodded. You can replace those bushings with comparable sized bearings, but the way that this one saved money was by doing it with bushings. Alright, I think that's a 14mm nut. That's why I have this wrench out. We'll find out. It is. I'm just trying to... What I like to do is I like to break the hold of the nut and then just work it off with my hand. That way I don't risk cross-stripping the nut or the pinion gear that holds the nut on. All of my pieces and parts that I take off, they go into a parts tray. That way I know where the pieces and parts are when it's time to go and reassemble the reel. We should be able to get this rotor up now by pulling up and off. I had two issues with this reel from the customer. The first one says that the issue is that the bail doesn't trip. The second one is that the anti-reverse only works intermittently. And well, you'll see that on this one, we'll probably do, maybe we'll do that too on this video. This one has a forked finger type of an anti-reverse dog that needs friction on this click ratchet here. They look like they've loosened over time. And generally with that one, you can just work on tightening it back up. You don't need to replace that. Let's get over to the spring side of this. We're going to want to remove the bail. So the bail comes off by removing an arm on this side, the attachment. I'm going to put the screw right in. Now most of the time when you find a spinning reel, it has the spring on this side of the trip lever, the one that's carrying the line guide nut. But on this reel, it's on the other side. I don't know why. When we remove this, I expect to see a spring like the one that I've got in my tray here, or my parts envelope. Yep, I can see it's broken already. We should have a tag up here that is where the spring would attach to the bail. This one's in pieces. There we go. And we have a broken spring. Okay. Well, as I mentioned a long time ago, who does parts this way anymore, right? A long time ago I got a lot of parts. That is the bail spring for the 104. And well, I'm kind of a pack rat. I never send anything away. But here is the bail spring, and this is what I was looking for, the long arm here that should extend upwards. So this one uses a spring that sets tension by pulling down on this, and then when the other side trips, the trip ramp is over on this side, you can see it come out here. It's going to hold that bail wire, and then when it trips, it's going to release this arm, and the spring on this side is going to flip the bail. While that spring attaches, there should be a hole in the back of this. There it is. There's a hole right here. The spring is going to attach into that hole. We'll show it to you here. I'm not going to assemble it this way, but it will go into the hole like that on that back side. And again, this will apply to many different reels. If you find that you have this type of a setup, look for the hole in the back of the bail. And then on this side, this is a little bit different. Sometimes you're going to find these springs will have a corresponding hole inside the assembly, sometimes not. So in this case, it's going to rest in that little slot there like that. And it's going to come up this way. So what we want to do is, now you'll see why we have this off the assembly. You want to sort of line it up like this, making sure that you have that little arm rested inside that. Then you need to find the hole for your bail. And sometimes it's easier just to push it off to the side, line it up. Easier said sometimes too, right? Find that hole, get it into the hole, and bring it over to the stud, like that. Put this back on. or at least we're going to get it started. I'll show you what generally happens with these. If you have this one that has a hole in the case, usually this will lay flat. But in this case, with that pivot, you're going to see it's going to want to jump up a little bit. Well, the next thing to do then is just put this collar back on, which is going to hold that down and prevent it from jumping up. And do that before you go much further. Go install that screw now. And now you can test it. You don't have to bring that other side, but make sure you have tension when you do that. Well, we don't. I didn't tighten this up enough, so we'll repeat the process. Show it to you anyway. This is one of these little exercises in patience. That's all. You need to make sure that as you're doing this, that you're taking your time and that you're just kind of working it in a progression pattern. Okay, let's grab that hole, make sure we're in the hole, bring it back down, cause it to compress over that little piece. That's better. I can see already. So I think it fell out actually before I even set that screw in the last time, because now it's resting against the back of the case, which is what it should be doing. Well, if you have a question on this reel or any reel, maybe you're wondering about the history of it, maybe you're wondering about other Japanese reel makers, maybe you're wondering what this was competing against at the time, any of those types of questions, go ahead and ask them, and I would be happy to try and answer those for you if I know it. All right, that's a little bit better. We'll take a chance here and we'll show you. When you go to load the bail arm now, you can see how it's going to put all that pressure on it and it's going to kick back when that bail is released. Again, we want this cover on there because it can move outwards without that cover being in the position that it should be holding that in. That's a little better. Put that screw back on. So again, I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel. I work on all kinds of fishing reels. Those of you that have been with me for a long time now know you never know what I'm going to post on any given day. And well, today it's kind of showing you how to work on a bail. Tomorrow it may be something completely different. And it could be a salt water, it could be a fresh water. This bail's got a little bend in it. It's probably putting some tension on it too. That probably happened when the bail wire spring broke. You want the tension to be released on these bails. You don't want the bail to kind of get forced into that bail arm because it won't work properly. In this case, well, we're almost there. I got to move it forward a little bit. These bail wires are very flexible. Be careful, but don't be afraid, again, of the bail. Okay. Now that's sitting there without much tension, so I'm thinking we shouldn't have much of an issue here in terms of getting this one to trip again. We'll tighten this one up. It's one of the things I want to encourage you to do if you're doing this project and you don't know all of the pieces and parts, to take some pictures. That'll help you to see, for example, how that line roller goes and so on. Okay. Well, we're not snapping. That's one of these is probably over tightened a little bit, or we may still have a little bit of tension in that wire. Yeah, so we're going to want to work a little bit more on bending this wire. Okay, that was only a brief time away, but we got it set right. So one of the things you want to do when you're rebending the wire, make sure you have a nice arc in the bail loop. And again, when this is not screwed in, make sure there's no tension on the post that this one sits there without the screw. All right, and here's what we got. We got a nice flip back now. Spring is doing its job, and that's how it gets loaded in. All right, the other thing I want to show, and I guess we might as well continue it right here, is that how to solve for this weak anti-reverse dog that catches sometimes. So this is a setup. Again, it's common to a lot of the reels of this generation, so if you understand it with this one, you'll understand it with others. And you want to remove the click ratchet and the dog, and you're going to see that we have quite a bit of separation here in the tags. Well, this is a friction driven device here. There's no springs holding this one on. It's just that piece. So I just wiped down the click ratchet, and what you want to do is gently pinch these back together, or what I prefer to do, I prefer to take a dead blow hammer. This one's one of those little dead blow hammers. I'm going to be off camera, but I just like to tap it a little bit, and that little bit of tapping is just going to be enough to get the closure that I need. And that's about what you want, just that. You do not want these touching tip to tip. And actually you'll see there's a little crimp on the one side here that actually has a ball that's going to be riding on that. But you'll know you have it right when you can put it on and feel the tension. I feel it right now. You can feel the tension and that it's holding and that you can't shake it off. If that's the way it is, then that's going to stop the skipping that's going on. Okay, so once you have that tension satisfactory, let's just go ahead and reinstall this. I'm going to come back and clean all this up. But again, I don't want to spend too much time showing you the other pieces. I'd rather show you how to fix this side. This one needs the override off. Bring that in so that the anti-reverse is facing in this direction. Let's get the screw for that. Now this anti-reverse dog was pretty common right through the 4000 Spinfisher series, and of course after that the anti-reverse clutches started to come. Okay, when you're spinning now, this is going to force that out, that little tension, and then when you go to back pedal the reel, it's going to pull it in just like that. So that's how the anti-reverse is going to work on this. We're going to take our rotor now. I want to clean that a little bit. I probably should have put some gloves on there. Bring the rotor back. And we have the rotor nut. And we're going to just test to make sure that the bail fires. Then I'll go about rebuilding the reel to finish this project. Tighten it down. This tightens in a clockwise manner. Give it a spin, make sure it spins nicely, and now we can, the all important, does a bail trip. And just as easy as that. Just as easy as that. So that's how you solve the issue with the bail trip. Let's solve the one on the back spin. There you go. Instant anti-reverse. No. Dog verse. Dog anti-reverse. Yes. Catching on every flip. There you go. Okay, so what am I going to do next? I'm going to take that off. Pull that off. Clean the pinion gear. Oil the bearing. Clean out the case underneath that. And reinstall it the way, in the reverse order of the way that we took it off. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that. It's just a little bit of a lesson. If you have a bail spring that kind of looks like this, that's the way that you set this particular bail spring across multiple manufacturers and multiple reels that were made in the 1970s and 1980s. I hope that's been educational, and I hope you've enjoyed it. To our first responders and essential personnel, thank you for all it is that you do to keep us safe. To everyone, please stay safe, stay well, and stay watching. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.